Hello there. The purpose of this video is to try to take some of the feedback we've received from students in the student survey at the end of the semester and make a few adjustments to how we do things in our virtual courses to make things better for those students. Now, what I'm about to discuss could also apply to all of us if we ever have to go back to Plan C where we're all remote. Basically, at that point in time, every class would become a virtual class. However, it doesn't really apply to a class that you're teaching face-to-face, because as you hear what I discuss here, you'll see that students who are coming face-to-face could get the spirit of a lot of these things we're talking about when they're in class, okay? But the first thing I want to talk about is the biggest piece of feedback we're hearing from students is that their biggest pet peeve about remote lessons or remote days or in their virtual classes is when they really don't get a chance to see or hear from their teacher at all. So what they're saying is some classes, when you open up the remote learning days or you open up the virtual course, there's just a list of things to do. There's no videos of the teacher teaching anything. There's no explanation of any of the assignments. They don't ever see or hear from their teacher. They just get on there and here's the assignment and there's written instructions, you do it. So one of the things we want to talk about as we move into second semester is how do we make sure that our students are hearing from their teacher every single day in class. And so we're going to talk about really sort of two things here. One, if you're teaching a virtual class, so a class that's all virtual, okay, a virtual section, or if we were to move to all remote learning, what we want to see teachers do is to open up a Teams meeting and have a class meeting every single day at the beginning of the block. That meeting is going to be anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes long, and you might think 30 minutes is a little long, and I think it probably wouldn't be that long most days, but if students have questions and they need extra explanation about something, either from the day before or with today's work, we want to make sure that we're setting up a culture from the very beginning of the semester or at the very beginning of the move to remote learning where students understand the expectation is at the beginning of the period, the assigned time, the teacher's there, the teacher's going to hold a class meeting, they're going to do some explaining of things, and you can come on during that time, you should come on during that time to get that explanation, okay? So we're calling them class meetings. Again, virtual teachers, this is an expectation or a guideline for you from the very beginning of the semester. Everybody else, think about videos during remote learning days, or think about, because obviously if you're teaching face-to-face, you wouldn't be there to do this meeting live in a remote learning. Or think about what happens if we do have to move to all remote learning. How do you transition your class from a face-to-face mode to a virtual mode? So again, expectation, 15-minute or so meeting at the beginning of every day of virtual learning, possibly a video for a remote learning day in a face-to-face class, or certainly for classes when we move all remote, where you spend time explaining the day's work, making class announcements, encouraging students, really. I mean, you spend time encouraging them during that class meeting to do their best. And again, if we start this from the beginning of the semester, do we feel like we'll have 100% participation? No. But if we started as an expectation, a guideline, a part of the culture from the beginning, we think we'd get good participation from the students. Okay. Again, that would be Monday through Thursday that you'd be expected to do that. You wouldn't be expected to do it on Friday, because Friday is a day where you have lots of other things to do. So your Friday assignments could not include this, okay? All right, so then what we also want to say is what the students are saying is they don't like I've already said, they don't like it when they open up the day's work and everything is just a written assignment with written instructions, nothing from their teacher. So we're saying that virtual instruction, remote instruction, should be a combination of videos of you or PLC mates teaching, videos of you explaining things, explaining the assignments for the day, Maybe some videos from other places too, but not just all videos that you copy and paste from somewhere else, but videos of you. Our students are clearly telling us in the feedback from the student survey that they want more time seeing their teacher, hearing from their teacher on a daily basis. So we're listening to that, and we're saying to you that your virtual learning should not just be a list of assignments that students complete. It should be a mixture, a mixed media sort of situation, okay? In particular, with you having, if not every single day, certainly most days, you having videos of yourself on there teaching as well as explaining things for the day, okay? So we also want to make sure that, students are saying that when they need help, sometimes their teacher's not available. Make sure you understand that if you're teaching a virtual section, or if we move into all remote learning, that period of time is you're teaching that class. And I know that a lot of times students are working asynchronously later in the day, but not all students are doing that. We're not expecting you to be available 24/7 to students on remote learning or virtual learning, but we are expecting you during that class period to be available. If a student is working on their assignment and has a question, that you should be available, not just by email, not just by text or phone, but by Teams. You should be available for them because that Teams aspect is really what the kids are talking about. That idea of if I was in class and I raised my hand and needed help, my teacher would come over to my desk and help me. Well, Teams is the closest thing we have to that in virtual or remote learning. Obviously, an email is not the same. So think about on a daily basis, do students understand when you're available for one-on-one help or what we might call tutoring? Last 45 minutes of the block, whatever it might be. And be very explicit with them that you're available during that time for one-on-one help. Again, from the beginning of the semester, setting up that expectation, setting that culture that if a student needs help, they don't just shoot you an email and ask a question, but they call you on Teams. Or maybe they shoot you an email and you call them on Teams and you get on there face-to-face and give them the help they need in your voice, with your face there in an encouraging way. Building that relationship, which is what we're really missing in the virtual and remote world, is we're missing that opportunity to build that relationship with students. Well, Teams at least gives us the closest opportunity to do that outside of them coming for face-to-face learning. Again, this applies to virtual classes that are virtual from the start. It applies to remote learning days. So on your remote learning days, when kids go on to do their remote learning, is it just a list of assignments or are there a mixture of things on there? Okay, should be a mixture of things. Okay, and then what we want to talk about is some guidelines of, students who aren't signing on. You want to set that expectation that students are signing on to these meetings. And if they're not signing on to these meetings, then you want to be trying to set that culture from the beginning by getting a hold of them and reminding them that the class meeting times are important, right? But some students aren't going to sign on to these and they're going to be doing fine. They're going to be making A's or B's without coming to your class meetings. That's fine. But when students aren't doing well and aren't attending your student meetings, you want to be really trying to work with them and tell them that this is a key strategy in the class to improve from their grade to doing better. We're not necessarily going to set a number on that, but we really want kids signing on to your class meetings every day. At the end of the first 6 weeks, if a student's doing well and they're not attending, that's fine. You don't have to fret too much about that student. But students who aren't doing well and aren't attending your daily class meetings, those are the students you need to be making a lot of effort to get a hold of. And as an added layer to that, administration wants you to put into the student assistance form any student's name who is not signing on to your class meetings and is not satisfactorily completing assignments. So if you've got a student who's falling behind, even at the end of the first 6 weeks, they're not signing on to class meetings and they're not completing work, we want you to put their name in the student assistance form so that we can try to help you get that student start getting into those class meetings. We feel like if they get into those and listen to your explanations every day, that will help them get on track and stay on track in your class. I know this is not a perfect world. I know some of you are thinking a lot of kids aren't going to do this, and that's fine. We're not going to get 100% here, but we're hearing this from our students in the student feedback, and we want to try to implement this into our plan and use it as a way to do this better second semester than we're already doing it. Not necessarily the best, and not necessarily perfectly. That's not what we're saying. But we want to do this better second semester than we did here. And we think this is one of the things from student feedback that will help us do this better. More contact, more face-to-face contact through videos as well as face-to-face through these class meetings that we're talking about with our students, okay? So virtual teachers, you've got your charge for what you're going to start doing. Start one. Everybody else, stand by. Try to work in more FaceTime with you on your remote learning days. And if we have to move back to Plan C, this will be something that everybody will be implementing. All right, thank you. Have a good day.